Hey guys. So transparency is what we're all about, right? I'm nervous as heck. I could sing all day, but if you get me up here speaking, it's like I'm more vulnerable because I'm not used to it. So just, we're in this together, right? I'm gonna sit. So first of all, I want to thank you all for being here. You are my family, whether I met you for the first time tonight or I've known you for a long time. You guys are all my family, and without each and every one of you, being in this room, I wouldn't be where I'm at, seriously. So first off, when I got sober, I've been sober since November 22nd, 2011. Thank you. But to be clear, that's sober from drugs and alcohol. So, I'm not perfect. And when I first got sober, I would hear people speak, or I would, go into churches and hear people preaching, and I would see all these people, and I just thought that they were like, they had it all together. And the more I mature in my walk and in my sobriety and in my relationships with others, I have found that everyone is the same. We're all the same. I don't have it all together. I don't. I make mistakes every single day. I don't read my Bible every day. I don't. I don't think before I say sometimes, and I just want to lay that out there because my entire life I tried to act like I had it all together, and it didn't do me any good. So now I catch myself acting like I have it all together and that I'm okay, and then I hit a wall. So one of the first scriptures that I was introduced to by Brian DiGiuseppe, who's a dear friend of mine. He read me John 16:33. It says, "I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world." Because when I first started my walk with Jesus, I was on my pink cloud number 2. So when I first got sober, I was on a pink cloud number 1. And then I was on pink cloud number 2, because once you surrender your life to Jesus, I had this weird notion that life was just going to be smooth and everything was going to be cool. And I was completely wrong. So, but take heart. He's overcome the world. So if we put our faith in him, he's already overcome this. He's already written this. He already knows what's going to happen. He knows the end before the beginning. So a little bit about me is that I grew up in Huntington Beach, and my upbringing was all about what you did and what you had, not who you were. And so, needless to say, I came from a family of addicts. I'm really happy to say that my mom and my brother are both sober now, and that's been huge. So everybody acted like everything was okay, because if something was wrong, then you're weird, you're bad, you don't have it all together, and it was just, my upbringing wasn't that way. It was, we're cool, everything's cool. When inside we were all screaming in our own ways. I have an addicted personality. Everything I do all or nothing. That's every addict that I've ever met. It's all or nothing. And gray area is not in my vocabulary, and it's something I'm working really hard still to this day. I was an overachiever. I went to a prestigious performing arts high school. I got great grades, and I was always one of those kids who I could not study at all, and I would show up and I would just take the test and I would do okay, and I would just kind of coast through. But I was taking it out on everything else. I am an addict in the full sense of the word, that I'm addicted to everything and anything. So if you've ever been to the carnival, that you play the carnival games, and it's the whack-a-mole game. If I'm not addicted to substances, I'm addicted to people. When I'm not addicted to people, I'm addicted to perfectionism with my body image and my body and food and eating. I have a binge and restrict addiction with food and exercise. I have codependency. I have alcoholism. I have everything, and it gets hard sometimes. But once you surrender your life, that this isn't my life to live for me. It's my life to live for him. Everything, it takes the weight off of you, truly. Once I surrendered, it took the weight off of me. And when I feel myself getting heavy, I need to remind myself to surrender, and it takes the weight off. It's crazy. But how it was is that I thought everybody blacked out when they drank. I honest to goodness thought that was the goal. Like I grew up around that, and then so growing up, I achieved really well, and I went to college, and I wanted to get away from my family, and not just because they were my family, just I wanted to live my own life. So I went up to Northern California for school, and I joined a sorority. That was the worst idea ever. But I had my music. I'm a classical musician, and again, I was able to just show up and sing. I would know everything, and then I'd go back and do whatever I was doing, and I was addicted to men. I was addicted to my body and how I looked. I was addicted to alcohol, and I was addicted to, myself. It was all about me. I was a horrible friend because I didn't love myself, so how could I love anybody else? So I ended up in a very toxic relationship in my last year of college, after being hospitalized numerous times for either my anorexia or my alcoholism, and most of the time it was both. I got back with my high school sweetheart, and I thought, oh, this is it. I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be fine. Everything's fine, right? So he ended up getting a chronic illness where he would have grand mal seizures, and it was very traumatic, and it ended up the physical and mental abuse from high school got more so, and every day I look at my hands, and I have scars on my hands, and it was from the physical abuse, but more than anything it was mental. And I called it the perfect storm because I was completely dependent on this person. They were dependent on me. I was drinking myself to death, and I was stressed. But everything was fine. Everything was fine. And so I think I heard Suzanne laugh. Was that Suzanne? And because she knows exactly what I'm talking about. So it was like the perfect storm for ish to hit the fan. And I decided that I couldn't be with this person anymore, and I went out, and I was bouncing from couch to couch, from man to man, and I ended up getting 3 DUIs within 3 months, and 2 of them were within the same week. And I remember just in the back of the cop car on my 3rd one, all I remember was, this isn't a felony, right? I just kept asking him, this isn't a felony, right? And the cop laughed. I'll never forget his face. And he was like, no, but it's pretty bad. It's not good. But everything was fine because I called my mom and my attorney, and I said, I have to take my finals. And they were like, your finals? Like, look around you. Like, I was in jail, and I was detoxing, and I was sweating. Like, I had to change my clothes like 10 times, and I was shaking, and they said, look around you. Like, do you not? But my grandiosity, me thinking was, I'm fine. Everything's fine. I'm going to take my finals and get my degree. So I don't know how, but I convinced my mom to bail me out. She drove up there, and I took my finals, and I had court on my graduation day, so that was fun. And I went right into rehab. when I moved back down here and I went into rehab, I still didn't think I was an alcoholic. I still didn't think I had a problem. I still didn't think I was an addict. I still didn't think that I had any issues. I thought, man, I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And then I met John, my husband. And I remember meeting him, and the first thing he said was, "Do you want a beer bong?" And if you know my husband, you know that we have grown so much, and we are not those people anymore. And I remember the first date that I had with him. We were trashed, by the way. We were drinking ourselves silly. And I remember I looked at him and I said, "Look, I have a lot going on, and I don't want to waste your time. Like, I don't know how long I'm going to have to go away for. I don't know what's going to happen. I have my degree, so everything's cool. I mean, I'm smart, but I have all this going on." And he's like, "Man, my life sucks right now too. Let's do this together." And I was like, "Yeehaw! All right, let's go." And so we got sober together, and the rehab that I was at did everything they could to break us up, everything they could, but they didn't, and because I thought I was better than them, right? I thought I was everything, I'm above you. I still didn't think I was an alcoholic. I had an ankle bracelet on me, taking my blood alcohol reading, every hour or whatever it was. I don't remember. I got fired from my job. I was in rehab. I was, looking at some time. I was still living with my parents, and I thought I was doing fine. I thought I'll be fine. And so I ended up having to go to jail, and my dear husband drove up there every week to see me. So that was nice. But I still wasn't spiritually sober. Here's the thing. I still didn't think I had a problem, and I still didn't think that I needed to surrender my life because I was in control of my life. I thought I could do all this. I thought I can fix this. I can, get a good job. I can manage this because that's what was taught to me. That was taught to me by functioning addicts and alcoholics, that we got this. We're in control of this. And that's as far from where I am trying to be now, because I don't got this. He's got this. And when I look up instead of in the mirror, that's when my whole lens changes. So, but when I finally came to the realization that I couldn't do this on my own, I was struggling. I was struggling really bad, and I was still sober from substances, but I wasn't sober in my spirit, in my mind. And I honestly woke up one morning and I honestly told John, I said, I want to go to church. And I had heard about God, of course, in AA, and I worked my steps, but my sponsor was really good about the God of your own understanding. And I was like, yeah, yep. And but I still didn't think that I was an alcoholic. It took me a long time to realize that I was an alcoholic and an addict, for that matter. I thought that I was just an extremist. I thought that I was just an all or nothing kind of person, and that'll get me good places when it comes time for my career, that I had no idea what I was going to do, but that's what I thought. And I was at my job. I was just working retail, and a gentleman who I recognized from the program came in, and I said, "Yeah, I'm looking for a fellowship, and I'm looking for something, and I didn't know that it was Jesus at that time. And I wouldn't say that. I didn't grow up religious at all. So if I said, "Oh, I love Jesus," my family would be like, "What the heck? Like, what's going on with you?" And I was weird. And you didn't want to be weird in my family, because then all the attention was on you, because nobody looks in the mirror. They all just look at everybody else. So he said, "Oh, I have just the place for you. It's called His Place in Westminster." I found God here, right here. I found Him. And yeah, this place saved my life. Truly, because even though I was sober in my body, I was not sober in my mind, and in my heart I was still messed up. Oh, I'm still messed up, but you know what I mean. So of course I went home and I Googled it. I Googled His Place, and I read about it, and I looked at pictures, and I thought, I don't know. And so we came here our first time, and it was communion, and I had no idea what communion meant. And as soon as it was Dan Link, where are you? He handed us the communion, and John and I we did it like on our own. Like, we just did it. And then we looked around and we were like, oh my gosh, we were supposed to wait. So that was our first day, but we heard Chris Jones talk, and he wasn't preaching a lot of scripture and not a lot of theology. He was just sharing his testimony, and I was in tears. John was in tears. John's 2 kids, my stepkids, were looking at us like, what are you crying about? They were sitting in here with us. They're like, why are you crying? This is weird. But that was the day that I knew that I had found what I was looking for. And don't get me wrong, we've gone to other churches just to check it out, There's no place like this. And I'm not this is not about his place. This is about the Holy Spirit moves in here. The Holy Spirit, he comes, God goes to the darkest places, and he finds us in our darkest places, and he saves us. And I only get to do what I do because God put me through what I've been through. And now I can truly say that I have been saved, but I am a work in progress. And I'm happy to say that I've been working on my codependency, but guess what? Everything else, that other mole with whack-a-mole popped up just 6 months ago, and a couple of the women in here who know me know what I'm talking about. My addictions are to anything, and the body image and the food and the being a woman and trying to fit this persona, it gets to me, and I'm currently battling that in my mind, and but I've been taking the necessary steps to correct my thinking, and it's only through prayer and through fellowship that I'm able to do that. So yeah, Suzanne knows. I never understood how people, I had friends growing up, and they would get saved once we got into like early adulthood, and I'd be like, that's weird. Like, I never understood it. I told you I never came from a religious family or anything, and I was the first one to give my life over to God in my immediate family. And since then, my brother's been baptized, and he came to this church, and I swear to you guys, he said, I want to get sober, but most of all, I want to know why you're so happy. And that really resonated with me. And my old self would have been like, here, I'm going to tell you everything I know. This is what you need to do. This is where you need to go. And I just said, yeah, it's here. If you want to come with me, come. If you don't, it's cool. Because that's not my job. Being codependent, I wanted to fix everybody, everything. Every man that I was with, I wanted to fix him in some way. The toxic relationship that I was in, I wanted to fix him in every way. He wanted to fix me too, and it was horrible. So, there are some scriptures that I learned in my early walk. And one of them is Corinthians 4:5. It's, therefore, judge nothing before the appointed time. Wait until the Lord comes. He will bring to light what is hidden in darkness, and he will expose the motives of the heart. At that time, each will receive their praise from God. Now, when I first gave my life over to God, I didn't know that I was codependent. I didn't know that I was an addict to food and binging and restricting. I didn't know that, part because I didn't want to, and part because I really was discovering who I was when I came to the Lord. I didn't know myself at all, and I still don't know myself. And I still have trouble with relationships with women because my only adult experience with women was in a sorority, and that's the worst. I mean, sorry, if you all were in sororities, if you had lifelong friends from that, I applaud you. But I was living my addiction, and they didn't really know what to do, and I didn't know what to do, and they turned their back on me, and I turned my back just as fast. And so I never really learned how to be vulnerable and be who I am. It's always what I had and what I'm doing to make my self-worth to other people. But as I'm walking and as I'm maturing, I'm realizing, no, it's who I am. It's not what I'm doing. I don't have to prove anything, but I'm so closed off from relationships with women because I'm intimidated, because I'm scared, because I still have that mentality of, if you only know my thinking, you wouldn't like me, because that's what was taught to me when I was a little girl. It wasn't who I was, it was what I did and what I had, and that's what I based my self-worth on. So if you're just sober, I promise you, it gets easier in some ways and not in others, but I promise you that if you start just saying your truth, I've never, ever exposed to anybody that I have a binge and restrict addiction until last month. So that's really new for me. And it feels really good. It's really scary. But that's not my only addiction. Like I said, it's whack-a-mole constantly. It's alcohol, grandiosity, codependency, binge and restrict cycle. It's exercise, TV, you name it, I'm addicted to it. And what I need to be addicted to is Jesus. So how much time do I have? I don't know. Okay. I put notes for myself, but I'm turning the page and I'm like, that page is blank, so that's all I got. I'm just being transparent, and like I said, I was really nervous. I'm not as nervous now, but I'm just telling you guys my truth. I got my driver's license back. That was really cool. And I'm off probation, which is really cool. All my fines are done. That's really cool. So, those are just silly little, not silly, but they're quality problems that I have now. I don't wake up in the morning and say, who is this? Where am I? What am I wearing? I don't have the problem of, how am I going to get my, car home? Where is my wallet? How am I going to get more alcohol? I don't have any money. What am I going to do for money? What am I going to tell my mom? And I got sober at 21, which is different than most, but it is the most amazing thing, because I've gotten to grow as a young adult. Shout out to Young Adults Group starting on March 4th. That's awesome. I've gotten to live as a young adult without any substances, which has been great. And I've gotten to encourage others to do the same, that, we're still stuck in that cycle. I just hope that I'm not here to prove anything, but I hope that if you're just getting sober, or if you've been sober for a while, but maybe you're not spiritually sober, maybe there's something in my story that you can relate to. I think, and the moment I realized that I was the same, this was a huge point, and I totally skipped it. Okay, so the moment I knew that I was the same as everybody else, I'll tell you right now, I was in jail. And if you've ever done any amount of time longer than like 3 days or whatever, as a woman, your hair gets really bad, like in there. And so I was up in Oakland, California. That's where I had to do, my short sentence, but it was 90 days, and then a month after rehab. I was in rehab for 9 months, so it was whatever. And I remember I asked one of the girls to braid my hair, because my hair was just, nothing. And she did, and I remember I looked around, and I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror as we were walking to the chapel. I went to the chapel, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm just doing it to pass time, because I didn't have anything else to do. And I remember I looked around, and I literally thought to myself, I am exactly the same as all of these people. We're exactly the same. I'm wearing the same thing. My hair looks the same. Everything's the same. It was the weirdest thing, but I'll tell you, that really shut my grandiosity down real quick. And I still struggle with that to this day, because that's my thinking that was ingrained in me and programmed in me from my childhood. Our childhood has everything to do with who we are. And it's unfortunate that, childhood goes by really fast. A lot of parents don't realize that, what you're doing now is, anyway, I don't know where I'm going. This is why I wrote notes. And just thank you. Thank you for letting me be transparent. Thank you for loving me for who I am, because I'll have a conversation with a woman in this church who I fellowship with, and I'll think about, oh my gosh, what is she thinking of me? What did I say that was wrong? She's probably thinking that, she's dumb, or she's, weird, or, whatever. And I'll tell you that the women that I have fellowshipped with here and, in other AA programs, they've proven me wrong every time. And I'm really grateful for that. And I just encourage you to reach out to women. If you're a woman, sorry guys, I'm like women over here. And for guys, maybe there's something that you related to in my story, but reversed because you're a man. And I really appreciate Bob and Roger for letting me speak. I've never spoken except in groups before. So I'm really, really grateful. If you would have told me that I would be here doing this 10 years ago, I would have said, yeah, right. So, thank you. Yeah.